Okay, I'm going to get started now. What I'm going to start with today is a PowerPoint that we will make available just to go over the basic tools that you're going to use for the Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. And I'm going to show you the tools on the Dynamic Trader program. I'm also going to show you the tools on TradeStation and the tools on eSignal. So we'll go over those, and then after that, the rest of the webinar is going to be going over real-time markets. So if you have one of these programs, you can try and work along with me and see if you get some of the same results. What I'm also going to do is, if we do an analysis, what I can possibly do is post or what they call tweet the chart on Twitter. If you haven't seen me on Twitter, I'm under Fibonacci Queen, and you can actually post a chart, and then you can just right-click on it and download it to your desktop. Okay, so to get started here, for anyone who's not familiar with the Fibonacci numbers series, this is what you're looking at here. And what you find as you go out to infinity, and let me grab my little pointer here, is you'll find the golden ratio within this number series, okay, 618. And then everything that I use in the analysis is also derived from that basic number, okay? So I'm not using the actual number series here, like the 13, the 21, the 34. I'm using the ratios derived from the number series. And most importantly, the golden ratio, 0.618. Okay, so the most important ratios that I use every day are 382, 50%, 618, 786, 100% or equality, 1.272, and 1.618. Occasionally, I will use 236 as a confirming ratio. I use 2618 sometimes as a confirming ratio, and also my target 3 for any trade setups. Okay. Now, the prior slide pretty much showed you where the 618 came from in between the Fibonacci number series, but then here's where some of the other ratios come from. So 1 minus 0.618 gives you 382. Square root of 618, 786. Square root of 1618 is 1272, and so on. So some of this, or most of this information is also in the book. Okay, I want to go over, what I do as far as price work every single day to set up 3 different types of trade setups. Okay, I run Fibonacci price clusters, which is basically where you find a confluence of at least 3 or more price relationships that come together within a relatively tight range. So that's one setup. I run symmetry setups, which is essentially a measured move. What I'm doing is I'm taking prior swings in the same direction and comparing them using a projection of 100%, looking for equality and similarity in corrective moves to help you get into the market in the direction of the trend. And then I also run 2-step patterns. They're also considered price clusters because you're going to find at least a coincidence of 3 price relationships that come together within the 2-step pattern. So that's pretty much what I'm going to go over in today's webinar. We just want to focus on the price work because apparently when I try and teach everything in one seminar, it's just too much. As far as price retracements, all we're doing is we're running either prior low to high swings or high to low swings for potential support or for potential resistance. The retracement ratios that I'm using are 0.382, 50%, 618, and 786. And I will be showing you in each program, how you, make sure that you're looking at the correct ratios. Now, this is an example of the program that I use with Dynamic Trader, and the tools, you can actually see the retracement tools. I have the red arrows on. They do a separate tool, one that shows how to project from a prior high to low swing. That would be the first tool on the left. And then the other one is doing the retracements from a low to a high. Okay, and I'll show you what's in there internally next. But then also there is a price projection tool coming from a low to a high, projecting from a third low, or coming from a high to a low, projecting from a third high. Okay, so the ones on the right are using 3 points. That is on the Dynamic Trader program. Okay, so inside that program tool, this is where you choose the ratios. Now, you're going to run both the retracements and the price extensions on this particular tool, because you're only using 2 points when you're running the 1.272 and the 1618 extension. So, essentially, the extensions are just retracements beyond 100%. So it's all done with one tool here. Okay, so I have the 382, 50%, 618, 786, and then beyond 100%, 1272, 1618, and 2.618. Okay, so that's how it's set up in the Dynamic Trader, and this will run both the retracements and the price extensions, or what I call price extensions. Okay, so now this is TradeStation. So here are the tools that you would use in TradeStation. Here's the retracement and extension tool. Here are these lines here. You'll have to find those, or the Fibonacci tools within TradeStation. And then the projection tool that uses 3 points is this tool over on the right. Now, the reason why it can get confusing is that TradeStation actually calls this an extension tool, okay, rather than a projection tool. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what you call it. It just matters that this tool allows you to use 3 points. So that's the tool that you would use to run what I call a projection. Okay, so those are the 2 main price tools in TradeStation. That's all you need there. Now, when you set up your first retracement line, what you're going to do is, run from a high to a low or a low to a high, and right-click on one of the lines there, and you'll see the box that comes up where you can choose Format Fibonacci Price Retracement Lines. Okay, that's where you're going to enter the ratios. Okay, this is the box that will come up when you go to enter the ratios. And again here, since they're all coming from 2 lines, you're going to put both the retracement ratios in here, the 382, 50%, 618, and 786, but also the extension ratios of 1.272 and 1.618. Now, what gets confusing here also with TradeStation is it shows the ratio as 61.8 rather than 0.618. So just know that in TradeStation you have to enter it as 61.8, 78.6, 127.2 rather than 1.272. Okay, so that is different with TradeStation. But that's how you're going to set up your price retracement and extension tool in TradeStation. Okay, now as far as eSignal, if anybody's using eSignal, I'll show you the same thing here. You have a retracement tool that will also give you the price extensions, because you're just going to add the other extra ratios in there, and it will do both. And then what eSignal calls the Fibonacci extension tool is the one tool that you use that allows you to choose 3 points. So that's what I run my price projections or my symmetry setups on. Okay, this is an example of the box that comes up. If you right-click on eSignal, you know this is where you're going to get the ratios. Now you'll see that in eSignal, they have 0.382, 0.50, 0.618. So unlike TradeStation, you would enter it this way in eSignal. Okay, and then here's the 1.272 for the extension, 1618 for the extension, and 2618 for the extension. Okay, so that would set you up in eSignal for both retracements and extensions. Okay, now Fibonacci price extensions, again, they're essentially retracements beyond 100%. So here, you'd be running a low to a high swing and extending downward with the 1272 and the 1618 extension ratios for possible support. Or if you ran a high to a low, you'd be running the 1272 and the 1618 extensions for possible resistance. Okay, it doesn't have to be more difficult than that. It's support and resistance that's being set up, but it's the confluence of the price relationships, or it's a little bit different with symmetry, but mostly, you know, a confluence that's really going to give you the standout trade setups. And I'm going to go over some of the ones from this week, but basically what we're going to do is recreate them so you can actually start looking at a chart. And as long as you have one of these programs that has the tools, you can start doing some of the work on your own. Okay, so again, this is the dynamic trader slide here, and I just have the 1272 checked and the 1618 checked and the 2618 checked. So those are the extensions, and that's how I run the extensions in that program. Again, this is a snapshot of what's inside of TradeStation. So we're looking at the extensions, though they use 127.2, 161.8, and 261.8. So that's how you would have to enter it inside of TradeStation. Otherwise, it's not going to come out right. Okay, Fibonacci price objectives or projections. Okay, this is where we're going to use the three-pointed tool. Okay, so here you would be measuring a prior low to high swing and then projecting another low or from another low. So you need to be able to choose 3 points in the program. And I typically use 100% more often than not. And I use 1618 only occasionally. Okay, and then I'm also going to run a prior high to low swing and project from another high downward for possible support using 100% and sometimes 1.618. These slides will be available. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but we will make it available to anybody who's in here part of the seminar. So it looks like I had an empty slide there. Okay, here's an example of the projection tool on eSignal. Now you'll notice that it says FibEXT, okay, but it's actually the one that will allow you to use 3 points. And typically I use red for the 100%. I like to color code these ratios because I like to know what's in a price cluster zone. Okay, so symmetry is always 100, is in red for me. And then if I do use the 1618 projection from 3 points, then this is where you would choose it on eSignal. As far as TradeStation, this is where you are going to format the Fibonacci price extension lines. They call it extension lines. Yes, it's very confusing. I talked about this in the book because I know it's going to be confusing for a lot of people, but it's more important that you know that it's the tool that uses 3 points. And so here you would check the 100%, and the 161.8 is the way that they'll put that in TradeStation. So those are the two that you would want to have checked. More often than not, though, I do not use the 1618 for projections. I'm mostly using the 100% projection. It's, the same thing as a measured move, and it's what I call symmetry. All right, as far as the dynamic trader program, what I do is I use, again, just the APP tool, alternate price projection, and it allows me to use 3 points, and I'll use the 100% and occasionally the 1.618. Okay, as far as the analysis steps, what you need to do on any particular chart is identify the important swing highs and lows that you're going to run the retracements, the extensions, and the projections from, and then to either look for the clustering effect, or in the case of symmetry, you're going to look for, a symmetry setup using the 100% projection, and also a two-step pattern will also be a price cluster, because it will include the retracement of one swing. It will include the extension of another swing, either 1272 or 1618 typically, of the prior low to high or high to low of the zigzag pattern. And then it will also typically include a 100% price projection of the first swing down or up in the zigzag pattern. Okay, let's take a look at, I'm not sure if I'm done with these slides. Oh, no, we have a few more here. The big question for a lot of people is, how do you choose the swings to run the projections? Okay, and sometimes that's a little bit difficult to see, and other times it's a lot more obvious. But I think that going over the amounts of charts that I'm going to today in the presentation, I think you'll finally get the idea of which swings that you'll want to choose to run the price relationships. You want to ask yourself, what are the obvious swing highs and lows? You want to think of it as, if I ran the price work from these swings, would the results be relevant to where the current market is at? And, can you get the same results as me? Because I'm going to show you some of the charts, and after I actually do up the chart, what we'll do is I'll post them on Twitter, and then you can be able to you'll be able to download it, and then you can see if you can go back and recreate it yourself. Okay, this is a little cheat sheet that you can use once you get a copy of this PowerPoint here, and here it's just telling you that to look for a price cluster, for example. If you're looking for support, you run all the low to high swings and use the ratios listed, 382, 50%, 618, 786. And then also you would run the support lows to highs using the extensions of 1272, 1618. And then you would run support from prior high to low swings projected from another high using 100% or 1618. You might want to print those out if you're just getting started and just hang them up next to your computer. Okay, and then this is just the flip side. If you're looking for resistance in the market, you want to run all the retracements highs to lows using 382, 50%, 618, 786. Run the highs to lows using the extensions 1272 and 1618, and then also to find resistance, you want to run prior low to high swings projected from a new low using 100% and sometimes 1.618.